channel. It's Charlie here, Rookie Farmer. Behind me I have my new 2024 or late model Mahindra 6075 cab tractor, and we're going to put a third function on this tractor. This is the newest model, as it has the auto leveling bucket on it, and the front end loader is made in Mexico. So to clarify a few things, to try to help you keep from going through the same mistake that I did when I ordered my kit. Not all the dealers that you order these kits from have the same information on it. I ended up ordering mine for my Mahindra .com, and I ordered the older version tractor, and the Mexico front end loader requires a totally different kit. So I have been in contact with them, and they sent me the replacement parts for it. I had already started a video for this, but I'm kind of mixing it up and going to start all from scratch. So I'll kind of go over a few things, so try to keep you from making the same mistake that I did. So let me show you a little bit what's going on, and we'll kind of go from there. So I ordered the kit. This is the part number that I ordered. It's the VKM H6075-HI, and the HI stands for handle included. I want to use the factory handle, so I did not want the handle. So you don't want to order this kit because the older version requires more hoses, and the hoses on the bucket or the front end loader are different lengths. So if you have the newer version, you need to get the same part numbers, but it's going to be a dash MX for the Mexico version. So they WR Long sent me the parts that I have different, so I can make those changes. I've already mounted the actual valve assembly on there, but we'll touch base on that in a little bit. But we're going to touch base and kind of go forward with what I have right now. And it really shouldn't veer too far away from the actual full kit, because I have none of the hoses connected. All I have is the valve mounted in place, and I'll touch base and tell you what I've done to get that. Other than that, the instructions look similar, with the difference is me using the factory handle. Your valve will already have the relay pack onto it for if you're going to use the factory handle, which mine did not, since I ordered the other version. So they sent me the relay pack to swap it out, and then I'm going to return all the items back to them. So that will be the difference. Your relay pack, which should be mounted to your valve if you order the Dash MX kit. So anyways, we'll stop here, let me get set up, and we'll go from there. Okay, we're going to kind of go over what would come in the box. The box would have basically this item here, which goes up on the actual FEL, and these are your connecting points for your implement. And I chose for the flat top style versus the ag style. It's going to have some mounts to mount your hoses. It's going to have a connection for one of the hoses. I have to see on there, they made me need two. You will need the 30-inch hose, which is supposed to go from your Power Beyond to the P port on your solenoid valve assembly. And then it'll have your two lengths of hoses with the connections on here to mount on the actual machine, which you'll have this. I already have, or it has the two hoses right here. So basically these are bulkhead fittings to go onto this bracket, which mounts onto the FEL. And I will be wiring this to my actual existing OEM handle with the push buttons in it. I'll cover that in there, and what type of connectors that the Mahindra uses. In the kit, they did not send any connectors, and I can see on here that there's pre-stripped wires that will require connectors to be added to it unless you want to splice into the existing ones. But I have the connectors already, and I'll be using those, so I'll show you what we got for that. So what we'll do is I'll go over to the tractor and I'll show you. I already, like I said, mounted the solenoid assembly because of the mistake that was in the kit. So I'll show you what I've done already and give you a pointer on it. All right, here we are to the right, on the right hand side of this tractor. I have the valve mounted on here. This plate is probably a little bit different. I had to drill the holes a little bit bigger to be able to mount it on here, so yours probably won't, being I have the wrong kit. And I told them I already drilled the holes and it was mounted, and they said that was really there wasn't much difference between the plates. So I told them just I'd stay with this plate here. But I will point out, I would not connect hoses on this valve right yet, because if you're trying to put that toolbox back on with it, that is a total pain in the butt, trying to fiddle that up with the weight and then running the bolts through and putting the nuts on the backside. I may end up having to take it loose. We'll see when I get going, and I'll let you know. But I think that mounting the valve first is probably going to be the simplest, and then connecting your hoses to the manifold on the actual valve assembly. And then up here is your power beyond port on the left hand side. That's what the instructions call for. So we will be running a 30-inch hose from there, from this port, and bringing it over here to this. On here is the P port, and tying it into here, and then it would come back to the actual valve assembly back here. So it's so I'll have to further in the instructions. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and get this hose connected, and then I'll touch base. Actually, I take that back. I'm going to go ahead and swap this out and get this done and out of my way, so I'm not thinking about it, so I can put the relay pack on there. Like I said, this one's different. This is going to be for the cab, no cab version, and as I pointed out, the other one has the wires coming out of it for the stock handle on there. And as I'll touch base on where those connectors are on this tractor, and we'll go from there. All right, so now we have the hoses on. So what we've done here is we've taken the original hose off of what is the power beyond and moved it down to right here. This is the P port, which is, there's a engraved P on here, and underneath it there's an engraved T. And then this supplied hose with it goes from there down and connects to the T port. Now, what I did find is that the angle that was on this block wasn't enough to, keep the hose from binding. So I had to loosen the nut on the block so you could spin that elbow to get the hose to want to flow more naturally. So those are on. I went ahead and swapped out this relay pack that goes on here. For those of you, if you ever had to do it, it's pretty simple. You'll need like a piece of rubber like I have here, and some channel lock pliers, because this is on pretty tight, and I don't think it's harder than hand tight unless you've got Hercules strength. But to get this off, I wrapped a piece of rubber around it so the jaws on the channel locks would not mar it, and then got it loose, and then I could take it off by hand. And then this coil slides off, and there's two metal contactor pins that comes out of this that slide into this block, and then you have to take these two screws out, and then you can slide it off of these pins from this coil right here, and then allows you to replace it. This tip was from WR Long. They're the ones that told me how to do this whenever I got the new pack. So I got that on there, and this is all done, and it's ready to be wired. And for those of you that's got the new style system, this is excessively too much wire. Your connectors for your OEM handle are right here. There's two blanked off connectors, and they're gray, and those are DT style connectors. So we'll go over those. I actually have those connectors, and I'm going to terminate these ends with those connectors, and apply them in there rather than cutting those off and splicing my wires in. The connectors and the pliers are fairly cheap, so I'll post those down in the link, or the links and stuff down in the description section, so you can obtain the correct tools to pin those and make yourself, your equipment look professional. So if you ever had to change anything, it's quickly unplugged rather than cutting wires or desoldering or whatever method you were going to use, crimp on butt connectors. So anyways, so now at this point we need to connect the two hoses that go from here. Okay, I have my I put the connectors on down here. I have my hoses temporarily routed. My connections may be different than yours as far as if it's the male on top or female on top, whatever. I put mine in this way, ran the hoses. Me and mine, I'm fixing a mix up in the kit. So anyway, so the hoses route up, and then I'm going to make this stud's probably long enough to use those clamps that they give. So we'll see with that once we get to that point. Right now they're just dangling on there. So you have to take these nuts off, because you're going to take the plate off and you have to drill it one hole, because they give you a bolt to go on. So this goes on the existing stud, and then there's a button head bolt that you got to run through here, and then they give a acorn nut to tighten it onto that. So I got to take this and go drill it out on the drill press. That way we can mount it. And then these is where your connection point goes here. And then again, there's another spot up here. I will do something with the mounts however I want. And so we'll see how it goes once we get this point together, and we'll go from there. All right, we have the bracket mounted and the hoses connected. They give you some of these with some self-tapping screws, but I refuse to drill holes in anything on my loader arms. So like I did in my 5145, whenever I put the third option on that, I took these nuts and I machined some, like, I don't know what they're called now. They're really long nuts that you usually use for all thread, and you can get them at Ace and stuff. But the 5145 had standard Imperial thread hardware on it, on the FEL. Where this FEL, I think, is all metric. I'm going to measure these threads just to be sure. But I took these and I drilled a small, I made them a fraction bigger. There was enough room to do that without breaking through this inside here. It was just enough to clear that. And then I put the nut that I machined into that so I could piggyback off of here and then tie it on. So for right now, until I get these machined, I'm going to get some wire heavy duty zip ties and tie these hoses back and out of the way. All right, here we are at the tractor. We're going to start doing the wiring of the to the stock handle. If you look underneath your tractor, just size where you put the power beyond, and behind the, right above the, basically this positive battery post, you have these two gray connectors with little orange seals at the ends of the wires. I've already taken the liberty of ohming out these connectors. So hopefully yours are placed in the same positions. If they're not, but they're different. So each wire going up to the handle, one has a male connector on it, the other has a female connector on it. So we'll pull but they both have the same color wires, and the same color wires don't mean the same thing. So I'll take the one off the left, which happens to be the female connector. It has just a dummy connector in there. You have to be careful. It's got little rubber seals on it and it comes off. So, and there's no pins in this connector. All right, so I've already taken the liberty of writing what each color wire on this connector does. So this is the female, and it has the pins already installed. And the blue wire on this right-handed connector, the female connector, the blue wire is the N. Excuse me, the twist out of it is the N. Basically, it's the signal supply or ground or whatever. It's most likely ground for the solenoid switch. So the blue wire is the N, supply ground in, and then the brown is the blue wire on one of the switches up there. It changes colors, so I've owned this out. You can do the same if you wish, or you can just take my word for it. So this blue is going to be a switch wire. So if you come up to the other side, which is going to be the male connector, and it also has a brown and blue, and it has a dummy connector on it, no pins in it. So like I said, be careful when you take it out. It's got a little seal on it. See, there's no pins in it whatsoever. Then you look on that, inside the handle, the brown wire on this left-hand connector is the yellow wire up in the handle, which is another switch, going to another switch. And then this blue wire is the N. So basically this blue wire here and the brown wire here are going from our solenoid, which has 3 wires, and the yellow wire here would be going to our N on these 2 connectors. So we're going to have to put a Y splitter or jump it over from this blue wire on this side to the brown wire, or excuse me, to the blue on this one. Yes, so never mind, blue and blue, they're both the same, N and N. So this yellow wire has to attach to those 2 blue pins, and then the other 2 wires from here will be a green and a blue, and this is going to be either up or down, or in or out, whatever. It's going to be one side of the solenoid. So one wire here controls one of these solenoids, the other wire controls the other, and this is basically, so at this point if I was to apply 12 volts to this single red wire and touch these 2 wires together, one of the sides of the solenoids would open, or opposite, if you turn the other one, the other side would open. So basically we have to put connectors on here and configure it, and then we can plug them in. So now I'll go over and show you what connectors these are and where you can get them. Like I said, the link will be in the description of what these are, and you can get those on Amazon or eBay. All right, here we are at my bench. I'm able to move to the shop because I'm going to need some electrical for a heat shrink and stuff. But anyways, well, this is basically the parts bag that they send you in your kit. It's going to have a fuse block assembly with a wire. It's going to have a crimp-on butt connector and a crimp-on lug and some wire ties. My best advice is don't use the supplied parts they give. You know, get you some decent. I find that this butt connector, the metal is too thin inside of it. They're super cheap. And on my 5145, when I installed the third option on it, I tried to use this, and when I crimped it, the metal is so frail that I could pull the wire back out of it. So I ended up putting some really nice butt connectors on there, or you can solder it or whatever you wish to do, but I find that to be rather cheap. All right, so the connectors that are used on the Mahindra are these German style DT series connectors. I bought these on Amazon, as again noted, the links down below. I use them in my motorcycle builds, but the particular ones that we need are these 2-pin. And you can buy kits. You can buy these independently with some pins, and you can buy a full kit. They're fairly inexpensive. These, like I said, these are the Asian version, not the actual German version, so they're much cheaper than the actual real deals, but they're still good quality, and I've used these on a multitude of motorcycle builds, so I can vouch for their quality. There's 2 different types of pins that's used in them. One is going to be like this finger style pins, crimp on, and then the other is going to be a barrel style crimp on. I like the barrel style myself versus the finger style, but for you. If you only want to buy a couple pins and you want to go the inexpensive route, then choose whatever you want. But bear in mind, there is specific crimping tools that crimp these, and both of them are not that bad in price. All right, these are the finger style connectors. I don't ever use these, but I have them, and let's see if I can get one out of the package so you can see it. All right, so you can see that these are the finger style. They have these little fingers that get bent around the wire and the installation, and then they have the pin on there. And then the other style is a barrel style, which is my preferred pin. I'm just going to get some of these out. And they're marked with a green band around it, and that's the side that you put the wire in, and then you crimp it, and the special crimp tool will put 4 pressure points around the axis of the pin. These are the pins, crimps for the barrel style. Basically, you just drop this pin into the hole, and then squeeze the handle, and then voila, it crimps it around the wire. So that's the preferred, and this is the IWISS. That's the brand that these are, IWISS, and I purchased these on Amazon. So and this is for the contact size of 16. So this will do wire from 14, 16, and 18 gauge wire, which is common for me for a motorcycle. So it'll work for our particular project that we're doing here. These are the crimp tools, the crimp tool for the finger style. And this tool, I believe also I got it on Amazon, and its brand is Toolaid, TOOLAID, and number being 18910. And this is this one that's made for those style fingers. You basically put it where the fingers are pointed to this squared off end, and the male portion of it squishes it down and curls those tabs around onto the wire. These are much more universal for other style of connectors versus this, but I have both of them, and whichever you decide to choose. Anyways, these are the connectors. The female socket gets the male crimp-on pins, and then the male portion of the connector gets the female pins. And then you'll push these through. These are water resistant connectors, so this is a rubber seal. So when you crimp your wire on, you'll be poking them through this rubber seal, and then they lock in place. And if you ever had to remove them, you can use a small flat blade screwdriver, and there's this little plastic tang in there that you can move out of the way and slide the wire back out. That's what makes these connectors really nice. So this would be the male connector, and once you have those on, you insert these in. This one here would be for the male connector. You would, once you pitch your pins in there, this kind of like locks them into the position, and then these snap into place right here. And then the small green ones are for the female connector, and you would push it down on the inside to lock the pins into position. So anyways, we're going to stop from here. We're going to go ahead and get our wires ready to go, as far as measure out the length that we need, cut off any residual, and then I'll go over with how I'm wiring mine. All right, everybody, we had to take a little break, but anyways, I got the wires trimmed. I don't know, there's probably about 24 inches in length on the main power wire, which is the center single conductor wire with a red core, and then the other one's probably about 32 inches. And I stripped about 8 inches of the insulation, the black insulation, off of the wire to expose the 3 conductors that's in there. And you only have to go a little bit from here to right there's the connectors, and the battery terminals are like right underneath it, so you don't need a whole lot of slack, but I made sure I had enough. The reason the positive conductor, single conductor wire, I cut a little bit shorter is because we have to splice on the fuse on here, so that's going to add probably another 8 inches on the end of this. So there'll be plenty of slack. I made it where I can make sure I can swing the battery stuff however I need to. And then on this one right here, the yellow wire is basically, I guess, the supply positive or negative. I'm not sure how the circuit works. So what I'm going to do is about an inch, maybe 2 inches from the trimmed insulation off, I'm going to trim back the insulation about 1/2 inch here, and then I'm going to fold that bare section in half and crimp a pin on there, and then whatever color conductor next is going to get trimmed to that length, so I can have 2 identical length and pins. So that'll allow me to plug it into one connector, and then the residual yellow wire will go over and get stripped and then crimped onto another pin, and then the other remaining wire will get cut to length and pinned so that it can be put into the socket. So I'm going to get this done and I'll show you what I'm talking about, and we'll come right back. All right, here we are. So I have the wires terminated now. I have the pins crimped on there. I have the female socket of the pins on these shorter wires and the male pins on the longer wires. And as you can see, what I did is I stripped a portion out of the center of the yellow lead, bent it and then half, and then crimped it into the pin, and then folded it down to follow where the stripped area was, and then trimmed the blue wire to length to match the other yellow lead. Now note, before I put all the pins and everything on, I already slid my heat shrink over, and the heat shrink is going to cover to here, and then I have a smaller tube that'll cover for the blue and yellow lead. So I'm going to get these heat shrinked, and then I'll touch base again. All right, the pins have been installed and my heat shrink is in. Now I slid the main heat shrink back here where my pinky's at. I pulled it back so I could heat shrink this part first down to here, so it was small enough to fit inside of the heat shrink that had to slide up to that one. So now we have to do, once the pins are installed, as I noted before, the female metal pins go into the male connector, and they slide in until they lock. And I said if you needed to unlock them and slide them out, just a little screwdriver there, there's some little tabs in there, you just pull the tabs back and you can pull the wires right out. You have your seals in there. Same thing with the male pins go into the female socketed plastic connector, and they go in until they snap into place. And again, there's little tabs that you can remove out of it to do. Now when you're done, you have to install these plastic pieces, like these little wedges, go into the female connector, and the male connector with the female pins gets this looking thing. So I have to install those. When I get that in, we'll be ready to go. All right, we have the new connectors installed onto the OEM plugs that was there. There's some plastic slide locks in these connectors. The long female portion has the actual slotting in it for it to slide up into the lock. So we had to put those in. As I noted before, the female OEM connector is on the right hand side, and the female on your harness is on the left hand side, or the male OEM connector is on the left hand side. So basically you have to on the right hand side, you got to pull the wire all the way back to slide back into this connector. On this one, it goes just directly pushing it this way in, and then it'll lock into place. So now determining which is up and down, left and right, that I do not know yet. So if the handle is incorrect, either A, I can switch the switches up in the handle, just move them into a different position, or you can swap the hoses at the right here. Just swap these two hoses. Depending on what you want, there's a couple different ways you can do it. So anyways, I'm going to get these put in position, and then we're going to go ahead and terminate the positive feed wire to the solenoid. All right, we have the fuse block crimped into place with a butt connector and then a wire lug crimped on the other end. This uses the same fuses as the Mahindra, the mini or micro blade fuses. This one has 10 amp. Well, I'll do it one-handed. So it's got the 10 amp little mini blade fuse. So if you want to have spares, that's what size they are. So anyways, we're going to get this routed and get it connected. There is an open place on here, so I just got to get probably a 10mm wrench right here and get this on. Now it looks like it's pretty clear in here, so be very careful that you don't touch, you know, metal. This happens to be a piece of rubber. Taking off, you know, to attach this terminal. I mean, this plug is pretty darn close to the side of this frame right here, so just be careful connecting that stuff so you don't, because the wrench will probably turn white hot pretty fast. So anyways, I'm gonna get this connected and we'll come right back. Okay, I went through the liberty of taking the controller cover off and exposing the two switches, and I also took this side panel off, because when I opened up the fuse panel, you could see the wires coming out of the controller. So I just followed them out, went down, and knew they went in here, so I had to take this cover off. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to set my meter up and we'll pin these out and we'll go from there. All right, from the controller down, there's a total of 3 pairs of wires coming down. And when it goes down, there's the yellow and green, we'll just call it yellow, brown, and blue. So those 3 pairs come down, and I'll kind of see if I can, hopefully you can see it. I have the boot lifted up, and here's the wires down here. And out of the 3 pairs, all of the blues are tied as one. So there's a total of 3 connectors. So what we have to do is take from this connector, there's a connector that goes inside here, and I'm assuming it goes to a relay or something in this fuse box for the Mahindra third option. But we're doing the WR long, so I've already found the connector. It was pretty easy. All you do is grab the 3 and find which one's going over here, and there's a connector that goes back there, and it's literally like right in here. You can grab it, and I pulled it out and I jumpered it. So basically the blue and the brown, so the blue feeds up into where the 3 are tied in together, and then that makes your blue going in to your browns. So we have our brown up here is jumpered across. So for us, that's going to be our power coming in. And then these are for the yellow, and the blue is for one button or the other button. So what we have, like I said, when you're looking inside there, there's 3 brown wires. They're all going down, and those go to these 3 plugs. This plug here, and your plugs down here. So what we have to do, like I said, is jumper this out, so it will, unless you want to just completely cut this out and rewire it your whole self, my suggestion is just jumpering this out, because it doesn't go anything other than up to that controller. So if you disconnect this plug, there is power on this plug. So if you disconnect this plug and put a jumper on it, or you know, you could either, if you bought one of those kits, you could just make a loop connector and put it in there, which is what I'm going to do. Make a loop connector, plug it in, and put it back in here and forget about it. And then continue my wiring down there. So when I get this made, I'll show you what we got down here. Okay, I made a jumper plug out of an extra connector that I had. So that's literally all I did, was get a piece of wire, crimp on the fitting, the connectors, and plug it in. So what I'll do, I'll just zip tie these 2 back together so that we know that they went together in the future. I have up on here, I have it set to the brown wire. Now, like I said, these wires, once they get down here, they don't mean the same as what they are up here. So don't try to mix these two. You got to pay attention to this. So the brown wire coming in on the switch side is basically your power in, and there's a jumper wire soldered to the other switch, so the two switches have power to them. Currently, I have my meter plugged into my connector, and I can press the button and you can hear an audible. So I'm pressing the button. There's that one. The other one's not as easy because it's got a pin, so I have to like hold it, but I'll set the camera out and you can kind of see what's going on here. And I'll set this on here and see if we can. Alrighty, now we'll press the other button. Oh, I didn't get it on there. Hopefully I got it. Nope, I didn't. There we go. Pressing the other button now. So we have an audible. Alright, so all in all, it's pretty simple. You have yellow and brown up there that's coming down, and in each one of your switches down here, or your plugs down here, they represent the brown wire. So I already have, like I said, noted earlier, the yellow is for up there, and on this connector, it's the blue wire. Up there represents, and it's in the blue on the brown wire down here. And then the two blues that are in the plug are the supply power. So for us, being that we have this wired already, that's how this is going to work. So we go ahead and plug this in, and what we'll do is I'll touch the battery on there and get this going. Okay, we have our positive lead connected onto the system. This is all done. We still have our assembly taken apart, but we do have functionability to our solenoids. So I'll see if you can hear them when I press the buttons. There's one button. There's the other button. Okay, so let's recap. The three wires up here, the yellow, brown, and blue, those go down and come out to connectors down here. And they're also into a connector right here, which is plugged in, and it has its own power, so you cannot use this plug. So you have to take it out. You're going to use the female plug with the blue and brown wire, and then make a jumper, just to jumper it over, because up here that blue and brown wire comes up, and all of the blues are tied together down here via this brown wire. So all of the blues to all of the switches, or the connectors, the blue wire is basically your incoming wire from your solenoid. So down here you're going to wire your yellow wire to the two blues on the connector. Those will come up into this brown, and the brown is shared on the switch, so that allows power from the switch to come out on this yellow and this blue wire. But when it gets down here, this is why it gets freaking confusing, because when you're up here you can see it, the yellow and the blue get turned into brown. They're soldered together down here with their own browns. So when you get down to these switches, the two browns at these switches, or each one of these connectors, is your green and blue coming out of your solenoid. So your yellow is going to go to both blues on your connectors, and then your brown, or excuse me, your green and your blue coming from here are going to go one to each brown. So hopefully you got that. So right now we have power to that direct from the battery, and we can press our buttons and you hear the solenoid. Voila. So I'm going to get this all put back together, and then we'll do a test. Okay, we have everything buttoned back up as normal, with the exception of a couple tools left in here. So it's all put back together pretty easy. I have the wires all zip tied. All the connectors are all mounted and in place. A fuse line is all in place. So at this point, we're going to go and connect it to an implement and do a test. And only thing that will leave me for is my attachments to lock these hoses in place. So hopefully, this was extremely difficult to explain because Mahindra has two colors of wires, and then they have them flip-flopping and stuff in there, so it does make it kind of confusing, and I really hope it's not too confusing in the video. But I will go ahead and post, I'll do up a drawing and take a screenshot of it and post it in this video right here. So now with that video, hopefully that'll make it a little more clear than mud. But in the interim, just pay attention. The colors of the wires up there do not relay to the same color wires down here. It's basically the opposite. So you have an extra color up here that you do not have down here. Up here you have a yellow wire. So you have brown and blue and yellow up there, and down here you have two browns and two blues, and the browns equal your solenoid wires, and the two blues equal the input voltage, either ground or input voltage from the solenoid into it. That's it. So hopefully that clears it up a little bit. And then don't forget, you know, you do have your cable in here. You have to disconnect and apply a jumper to it, because I believe that's for Mahindra's third function kit. I don't know how that's wired, but it was pretty simple to trace it out and find that. And all I did was create a jumper on another DT connector, plugged it right in, bada bing, it was all set right there and made everything's work. So at this point, we're going to go over and shoot a test video of an implement and then work on something else. All right, boys and girls, we are in the tractor. We got the implement connected. It is my grapple bucket, so we'll do an open. There's the close. We'll crank it. Voila, there's that. So now I need to work on my connectors for locking the hoses. Right now I have them done with zip ties. So for pretty much for anybody else, if you're not going to do what I did, if you're just going to use the zip ties to hold the hoses on, then really no need for you to watch unless you want to see what I actually do. But pretty much I want to say please like and subscribe. If you got any questions, I know this was a tough video to follow along with. You know, I hope that for those of you that just follow along and you're trying to do your own 6075, you know, this is the late model with the auto leveling bucket on it, with the Mexico, made in Mexico front end loader. So it's a little bit different than the previous version, and so there's kit differences. So I want to, you know, emphasize that you need to make sure you're getting the, was it the HN or MK or MX? The other one is the HI, that which means handle included. It's the older version, so you got to make sure that you're getting the newer version. If you want the handle, then you're going to want to buy the handle in it. There is no difference in cost from what I could see. I have the OEM handle. It does require the work, as you see in the video, and you have to make some configuration changes, which was not terrible. I mean, literally, I cut no wires on the Mahindra. Everything can be put back to where it was at. I simply just wired connectors, connected them in the existing connecting points, and voila, it's done. So if it ever wanted to be converted back, it's simply unplug the stuff and plug it back in, and voila, you're back to a factory default setting. So I really hope that you could follow along. Like I said, you know, if you need the, you know, hopefully the drawing helps a little bit, and trying to make it less confusing on the colors of wires. But anyways, I'm going to get started on this. You know, please like and subscribe. If you got comments, please drop them down below. So let's get started on the other part. All right, this is what I made. You could use a steel coupling nut that's used to join the all thread. They're usually really long. You can find them in the all thread section. They're coupling nuts. The thread on here is 3/8/16. For this, I didn't have a coupling nut. I actually had some hex aluminum stock, so I machined it and tapped it out. You will need a lathe in order to do this. I got one here without being installed. So basically, this is what I've done, is machined the hex portion away at the length here is 0.730. It's got the 3/8/16 thread, and then it's just the hex on the top of here. The diameter, outside diameter, this is aluminum, so I went a little bit heavier. This is 0.450, and then I took the plastic pieces that come in the kit and I drilled this out to a 29/64, so I chamfered the edge a little bit to get rid of some of the ruffle from the plastic. So basically that just slides in there like so, and then allows you to tighten it down onto the all thread that's sticking out through there, and then you can clamp it in there using that. It looks really nice. So all I have left is to install this one, and we'll be wrapping this up. All right, we have the final one in and installed here. I'm gonna think this one over. There's a couple holes on this bracket here. I may need to fabricate something up, but if you inch them right now, I have this zip tied onto here. I'm gonna have to make something up a little bit better. I could probably take the current clamp. I had an extra one of those clamps. Hold on a minute. And I can probably make a piece of steel back plate to put onto these like so. Pinch it in here, and then on that steel back plate just bolt it into one of these holes right here. That's most likely what I will do, but I'm not going to cover that in this video, but that would work just fine. Like I said, there's 2 holes there, so I'll use this top hole right here and make a steel back plate to go on this, and just run a bolt and a nut and pinch it right in right there, and voila, it'll be all set. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. Hopefully it helped you out. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop them down in the comment section. I'll do my best to answer the questions. Other than that, enjoy, and see you on the next one.